Hey, so Merry Christmas and Happy New Year for when it happens, or whatever festival you celebrate. So this is my 2022 um, review of my favourite comics of the past year, and also other little things like so professional. Other little things like honourable mentions, like some top 10, um, and best publisher as well, and also be doing things like top 5 manga and top 5 graphic novels that were released this year. Some of the graphic novels are like compilations of comic series, but I never got them in the comic series. And also, first of all, though, I'm going to do some shout outs for some people who watch the channel, who I also interact with quite a bit on Twitter. Really cool guys. DC Patrol I'll do first. The 3 comics that he really enjoyed this year, and I've read some of them, is Do a Powerbomb. That's his favourite one of the year. That's by Daniel Warren Johnson. This is one that I picked up the first issue, but I sold it, not because I hated it, I loved it. And the reason I sold it is because I thought, this is too good just to have as a comic. I need the trade paperback or hardback when it comes out. So I'm going to get it, but I'm going to wait for the collection of it because it is absolutely jaw-droppingly stunning, and the storytelling is so fluid and great, and it's such a unique tale. And it's wrestling. Who doesn't love wrestling? And again, keeping on the wrestling tip, he also mentions AWA's Crimson Cage. That's written by John Lees, I think. I've got that. I got it in the floppies. Yeah, it was good. That was going to make my top 10, but when I saw DC Patrol put it on his list, I thought, no need to mention it again. It's good. It's collected. What I love about AWA, they release the trade paperbacks quite quickly. I think it's only $9.99. So do check it out. So it's Hamlet, it's Macbeth. Sorry, it's Macbeth. Macbeth, but set in the wrestling world, and it's great. It's got the drama, the high drama of wrestling, with the gothic orchestrations of Macbeth, with a nice subtle ghost story in there as well. And these other 2 are One Star Squadron. I read this first few issues when I used to be digital. I think I read the first 2 issues on digital, and it's good. Steve Lieber doing the artwork, gorgeous artwork, really nice, understated. You think it's simplistic artwork, but it's not. To get your art that fluid and that smooth takes a lot of effort, and it's written by Mark Russell, who's just a genius writer, and it's great. It's got the same kind of tone as the Justice League comic from the 80s, where they managed to get a fine balance between humour and pathos, and but it's more of a happy sad comic. It's basically these literally what they are, the 1-star superheroes who basically they have to do like basically end up being like temps, and it's well worth checking out. I think it's got a collection out now. And then his last one is Above Snakes, and I think that's by Sean Lewis and Hayden Smith. Hayden Smith is an amazing artist. Again, he's like Daniel Warren Johnson. He's just unique, just nice. It's really cool, almost like a punk western, and again, it's one that I got the first issue of and I thought, no, get the book. So I do highly recommend it, but I'm going to wait for the trade paperback. And then the other person who's left some recommendations is another cool guy, and that's Oddfellow. On here he's known as Oddfellow's Thoughts, and had lots of cool conversation with him. He's got good taste in comics. I think he's got a YouTube channel. I don't know if it's still active, but there's some good bits on there. But the ones that he's really given, that's really stuck with him this year, is Human Target. Now that's one I've not got yet. I missed the boat with the first 2 issues, and they're going for silly money now. So I know the hardbacks come out, but a bit short on funds at the moment because in between jobs I've got a few jobs interviews lined up. So fingers crossed, get one of those after Christmas. And yeah, it looks great. It looks fantastic. I've looked at it in the shop. I know there's a hardback of the first 6 issues out, so I will be investing in it soon. Maybe I'll get some Christmas money. And also, What's the Furthest Place from Here, which is an Image comic. It's got a very indie, like 1980s indie feel. For me, it feels like End of the World comic meets Love and Rockets. I might get the book. I tried the first issue and I couldn't really get into it. But I think it's one that will work better in book format for me personally, because I am more of a trade paperback reader than I am a comic reader. And also one which I'm going to be mentioning, so Catwoman Lonely Sister, but I'll go into that later, because like I said, that's one of my top 10. So what I'm going to do first for my list is some honourable mentions, and these are comics that just fell a bit short, but they're excellent, really good comics. I thought my door was open, but it's not. Really good comics, and they are well worth buying and investing in for different reasons. I'm not going to look through them. The top 10 ones, I'll go into the artwork and the writers, etc. much more, but these ones they're quite recent and they're well worth giving a shout out to. Batman Incorporated by Ed Brisson and I think it's John Timms. This I had no expectations for. I thought it's going to be another Batman cash-in, it's going to be naff, it's going to be cheap. Oh my god, this comic is fantastic. It's fast paced, it's fun, it's fluid. What did they call that genre now? Spy-fi, that's it. It's spy-fi. It's superheroes in name only. It's more like a jazzy kind of James Bond with sci-fi elements, fast paced, gorgeous artwork, so fluid and dynamic, and it just ties in with Brisson's writing. And mate, really, really good, fun comic. It's not deep, but it's not stupid either. This is how a standard superhero comic should be. Great, it's great. I love it. Amazing comic. And then one comic, a Marvel comic, and I've been bashing Marvel this year, but I love Marvel. I love Marvel from. I'm just fucked off with Marvel as it stands at the moment. It's so bland. It's so intellectual property focused. It's more about the idea and the concept rather than the story, and it's crossover heavy. At least DC's a self-contained, but Marvel, oh no. But my favourite team of any comic company is Fantastic Four. I mean, I could lose myself in Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's run, especially when characters like White Wingfoot and people came in, Agatha Harkness, and they built up the lore of and they built up the bigger family of Fantastic Four. Just love it. And this one by Ryan North. And sorry about that. Forgot I was being filmed, even though I'm filming. But there we go. Ryan North and Iban Coelho, and covers by Alex Ross. Oh my goodness, this is great. I used to get the Dan Slott one in digital, and it was everything that the Fantastic Four shouldn't be. It was cold. It was clinical. It was ideas. And they made Reed dislikable. He was a robot. He's not. He's a genius, but he's almost like, I think if he'd been written today, he would have been viewed as like an slightly autistic genius. He's very hard at conveying his emotions properly, but he loves his family, and that's what comes across in that one. And I love the small stories with almost like a Twilight Zone feel to them. It's cosmic but on a smaller scale. And next issue they've done The Thing and Alicia, and they've done Reed and Sue. Next month it's going to be Johnny Storm, and yeah, I'm loving it. I'm very excited for Fantastic Four. The design, the artwork, the story, just really good. I've not enjoyed it this much since Mark Waid's run with Ringo. May he rest in peace, Mike Waringo. And then of course, even just for the covers, it'd be worth the price of admission. Nightwing by Tom Taylor, and what's his name? Don't get old. It's not good. And Bruno Redondo. It's just the perfect comic. It's everything that Nightwing should be. It's full of optimism, full of fun. It's acrobatic because he was an acrobat, and they don't forget that. They remind you of that in virtually every issue. The artwork is kinetic, frantic. I'm going to say fluid again. That seems to be the word of the day. And the writing, it's Tom Taylor. Well, I'd say it's Tom Taylor's best, but there's another series that made the top 10 by him. It's just, month in, month out. Even the weak issues are stronger than a lot of other comics that are coming out in the same month. It's just great. You just think it's a weak issue because the other issue was so high. The bar was so high with the other issue. Really good series, and they've been on it for such a long run, and it looks like there's no sign of them leaving soon, and I hope they don't. This comic gives me the same kind of thrill and excitement I used to get when I used to pick up the New Teen Titans by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and that is a high stamp of approval because that's could be my all-time favourite superhero comic. So yeah, great comic. And next up, I never thought this would make an honourable mention. Star Trek. I love Star Trek, but I've not liked the comics for a long time. Not since DC did it years ago. Yeah, and this one is by Kellyanne Lansing, who did Captain America. And they basically cherry picked characters that they want to use. They want to play in the Star Trek sandbox, and created a new crew. And it is great. It's fantastic. I mean, even the covers as well. Some of the variants like this one are just some of the best variants out this year, of the month when it's released. And it's just a great, fun space opera. Everything that Star Trek should be. Full of hope, full of exploration, full of intellect. That's why I'm not keen on Star Wars. Star Wars, I feel like I've got to think like a child again. And I don't want that. I'm an adult. I'm a grown-ass person, and I want my brain to be stimulated by a story, and this does it. It's good. It's so good, and it doesn't ignore what's gone in the Star Trek canon in the different universes and series. So even if you're just a mild Star Trek fan, I recommend checking it out. And I couldn't not mention this. This is my lifetime comic. This is the comic that I've followed since 1977, on and off. More on than off, and past few years it's just been on because the quality is so high. But it's an anthology, so that's why I didn't put it in the top 10. This would be in the top. This would be number one every year otherwise, and it's 2000 AD. It's the king of comics. Even when it dipped, it was good. There was always about 2 or 3 good stories, but recently there's been more good than bad. The bad is very, very rare. You rarely get a bad comic, even an average comic story in it. And yeah, I just absolutely adore 2000 AD. It's my jam. It's what I've grown up with, and it's what I still go back to. It's still the punk rock comic of comics. Christmas time, so you've got to have a Baileys. There's not as much Baileys as it looks like, isn't it? Honest. Put a bit of milk in because I'm soft. Right, so on to the top 10. I'm going to leave my favourite one till last, so I'll come to that later. But I was talking about Tom Taylor, how there was another book of his that I thought was better than Nightwing, and that is Deceased, War of the Undead Gods. This is the final part of the trilogy. It's by Tom Taylor and Trevor Hersine, who started off in the UK, doing a lot of UK comics. I love it. This is how you do an event. It doesn't cross over to anything. It's contained, and you want more. And it's going to end with issue 7 or 8, and I don't want it to end. Tom, DC, make this an ongoing. Make it a whole new universe. I need my DCs. This is how you do alternate realities. This is how you do horror mixed with superheroes. It's just gorgeous. I mean, right from the packaging, this variant cover is a joy. It's a acetate, so you've got the symbol of Green Lantern, and in this story, Dinah Lance, Black Canary, has become a Lantern, and then you've got the cover underneath. So even from the presentation, and Trevor Hersine's artwork is so good. I would love for him to do a Green Lantern story. Yeah. Oh my god, so good. I've got the other 2 books in trade paperback. I don't know if I'll get this in trade paperback because I like the acetate. It's sturdy, so it's just wonderful. And then we've got another comic. One Love with Image at the moment. They're doing so many books in hardcover, in cardstock, and not charging anything more. Just the same price of a standard comic. And this is Dark Ride by Joshua Williamson. And I always forget the artist. Andre Bresson, and they were the creators of Birthright from a few years ago. And this is a new comic, and it's basically like what if Disneyland was a horror theme park instead? It's good. The artwork is fantastic. I mean, look at that cover. It's got that right balance for a horror comic of light and dark, and it leaves you wanting more because it ends on a banger of a cliffhanger every issue. It's only 3 issues deep so far, so you can buy it still, and it's good. And like I said, the quality is so high. Image at the moment are knocking it out of the park with the books. Now this one, I'm getting emotional. When you've been a fan a comic reader as long as I have, the people who create the comics, who write the comics, who illustrate the comics, they become more than just somebody who does a floppy. They become people who you relate to through the stories, who you relate to through the interviews, and certain artists and writers mean a lot to you and are very special to you. And one of those for me was the artist Carlos Pacheco, who sadly passed away this year. It was sudden, very sudden. Gone way before he should have done. And this is Aerosmith, Behind Enemy Lines. And this is simply just by Kurt Busiek, but most of all by Carlos Pacheco. And this is simply one of the most beautiful comics of this year, of the past 10 years. This is how you do fantasy right. So it's an alternate England world where sorcery and I think sorcery and science kind of live together. And Aerosmiths have these little pet dragons, what they use. So there's no, there's no planes. They use dragons to fly with, and it's just a perfect blend of war, of real life war meets fantasy. And I don't know if there'll be any more after this, because like I said, Sally passed away, and I don't know if Kurt Busiek would want to do it with anybody else. There's there's the first book what came out years ago, which I've got in trade paperback, and it's been released in a gorgeous book now, and I do highly recommend reading it. The story is perfection. Kurt Busiek, when he does his own stuff, it's on a whole different level to his Marvel or DC stuff. The writing is mature, it's grown up, it rewards you. You don't speed read it, take your time, devour it, and just study the pictures. I mean, it's tragic. It's a crime that he went so young, Carlos Pacheco, but what a legacy. What a book to end on. This could have been my... if this other book hadn't come out this year, this would have been my book of the year, my comic of the year. So that's Aerosmith, Behind Enemy Lines. Like I said, it has been released in book format now. Just checking how long I've been recording. Trying to speed up a bit. And next up, another one that is just a beautiful book. This is, if you could imagine Ray Bradbury writing vampires with children, you get this. And this is Little Monsters by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Again, this is just a beautiful book. It's got I love how the artwork's in black and white and grey tone, and then there's just the odd splash of colour, like if blood spilt. Let me just find some. It's not always, they don't always have any, and I think I picked the issue. Yes, if there's like blood spills or anything like that, then there'll be a splash of red, so it's like, ooh, drama. You can get jaded by vampire comics or zombie comics because there can be oversaturation, but that is such an original slant on it. It's refreshing, and I'm so glad it wasn't just a miniseries. That they took a break for, is that it? But no, it's back with issue 7, and it's a perfect little story. Again, it's come out in trade paperback the first 6 issues, I think, so I do again recommend reading it. And one comic which is, it's just fantastic, is Gotham City. I never get it right, so forgive me if I got it wrong. Gotham City Year 1, and it's by Tom King, but most importantly Phil Hester, who's done the artwork of his career in this book. It's every issue comes cardstock, $4.99, but you get plenty of pages. It's good value. Say what you will about DC, they do nice comics. They do good quality and for the money comics, apart from the Joker, which I think's a rip-off. But the artwork is fantastic. It's about Slam Bradley, so it's before Batman, and it deals with Slam Bradley investigating the case, and it deals with relatives of Bruce Wayne. I don't want to go into it too much because you do need to read it. It's a hard-boiled detective story. It's very noirish, very James Ellroy feel, or Chinatown, that kind of vibe. It's just brilliant. This is Tom King's best book he's ever done, and I know people hate on Tom King, but I forgive his weak comics because even in his weak ones, I can find stuff to enjoy. But I think he does more strong work than weak, apart from Batman, which I thought was just bad casting. He should have just been given. He works best when he does just miniseries, not ongoing series. But yeah, Gotham City, year one, wow! And like I said, Phil Hester's artwork. I mean, just look at that cover. It's just a joy. He's like Mike Mignola, where he just knows how to utilise blacks and shadows so well, and it works perfectly in this kind of comic. And the colorist as well, which is Eric Gapster, just does such a great. They work so well in tandem together, and the lettering by Jordi Belair is just brilliant. So, chef's kiss. And then AWRA Upshot. This is the first one of theirs. There is another one coming from theirs, so I'm going to recommend. And this is Sacrament by Peter Milligan and Marcelo Fruzin. And this is basically The Exorcist, but in space. So it's an out-and-out horror comic, but with sci-fi sensibilities. So it's like how they did Alien, where it was pure sci-fi, but it was very horrific. And this is Pete Milligan. He's doing some of his best writing of his career with AWA now. It's reinvigorated. I'd say AWA, they've got give me the same level of excitement that Vertigo used to back in the 90s. And this one is just so good. It's such an original take. I'm surprised nobody's done this before in comic form. I know you've had Events Horizon, but this is about a priest. So it's old school Exorcist, but in space. What more do you need? With fantastic, gorgeous artwork. I mean, look at that cover. So, lovely. And then, because I'm such a fangirl for this guy, I mean, I could literally just put a top 10 of his work, and it's Ram V, surprise, Ram V. His name's going to pop up again soon, and it's Detective Comics. I mean, whoa. Reese is doing this one, but normally I've forgotten who it is who does the artwork normally. But it's gothic noir. It's operatic. It works perfectly with musical. If you just have like orchestral music playing as you're reading it, it's mood inducing. It does things to Batman. It's lyrical. It does things to the mythos of Batman, what's never been explored before. It's the closest we get today to Alan Moore. That's where I put Ram V now. He's getting close to Alan Moore level of godhood. He just writes such good rounded characters, and he can make set a scene with just a line. It's not overly verbose, unlike me. And he just nails it every time, and this is the best Batman's been, I think, for me, since Norm Brayfogle and Alan Grant. Again, somebody who passed away this year. But yeah, if you're going to get Batman comic, get Detective Comics. Batman by Chip Zdarsky, I love. But it's Batman. It's the Batman that you've seen before. That is something new. It's a new kind of Batman. And next up is another AWA comic. And this is written by Christopher Faust with artwork by Priscilla Petraeus. And it's Hit Me. Look at that cover. Oh my god. And this is definitely for adults. It's a hard-boiled... This is what I look about AWA. They love crime. Hard-boiled crime comic with a kink. The main character hires herself out to clients. She's an escort, but she's a particular kind of escort. She lets people hit her, hence the title Hit Me, and she enjoys receiving pain. That gets her... is it serotonin? It gets that kind of release for her. That's her sexual high, is getting pain. But something happens, and that's, of course, something's got to happen because it's 5 issues. So it doesn't dwell on that aspect too much. It just uses a bit of that at the beginning to set the scene. But then the main story... So it's crime like Bound was. So it uses that as like the catalyst. Something happens, and that's the catalyst that brings up the bigger story. And it's just perfect. It's a perfect crime comic. Gorgeous artwork. Gorgeous artwork. And just a really solid story. Satisfying conclusion. Done in 5 issues. Trade paperbacks out, $9.99. Buy it. And the best deluxe miniseries of the year is Catwoman, Lonely City by Cliff Chang, who does the artwork. He does the... this is what he does. He writes it, he draws it, he colours it, and he letters it. He does everything in this book. And not just that, he's a lovely guy on Twitter. I've had a few chats with him on Twitter because I was fangirling, saying, "Oh, this comic is so good," and he didn't just brush us off. He was really overcome that people liked his work. Such a humble guy. I mean, what is there not to like? Hold on. I mean, his artwork, what he did for Paper Girls, was jaw-dropping, but he's upped his game. He does the best version of Croc in here, Killer Croc, and it's set, I think it's set like 20 years in the future, so they're all like in the 50s, 60s. And yeah, it's out now in book form, and do buy it. You won't be disappointed. So what I'm moving on to now are my top 5 graphic novels of the year. So these are books have come out in 2022. First one, this is what I said, Ramvi, but this needs shouting out, because this needs shouts from the rooftops, because this could possibly be the best book and best comic of the year. But I think the comic itself is out in 2021, and this is The Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ramvi and Felipe Andrade. And this is basically about death. Loses her job, so she comes to Earth. And I don't want to go into it much. One thing, time's running out. I'm burning the battery of my phone. And you just need to explore it yourself. The artwork is just so good. Very European style of artwork. Very reasonable price book. $14.99 in the US, $10.99 in the UK. Everybody needs a copy of this on their shelves. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, I don't want to go into it too much, because the less you know, the more you'll get from it. Next up is a big boy. Very big boy. I just do these videos. Well, no. I do everything, so I have no excuse. So I apologise. So this came out earlier in the year. There's been a second volume since. It's very big. It's from Dark Horse, and they do great library editions, and they're normally really reasonable price, and this one was extremely reasonable. It was $29.99, and it's huge. It's the Nocturnals Omnibus Volume 1 by Dan Brierton. I had these comics in the 90s, I think it was. I think it was Bravura who did them, and it's basically it's got similar vibes to Hellboy, but very pulpy. These are monsters, but with a pulp sensibility. So it's monsters meets detective, and the artwork is just amazing. It's very heavy, lots of pages, has lots of back matter in the back as well, and with processes and posters, etc. So for $29.99, you can't beat it. It's an amazing, gorgeous book to look at and also to read. And then Next up, one of my favourite comics of all time is Luther Arkwright. There's been 2 previous collections, but this year he did the other 2 were serialised and then collected. This one has just come out as a complete graphic novel. There's not been any floppies of it. And this is The Legend of Luther Arkwright. That cover is fantastic. And again, for the size and the contents, it was very reasonably priced. It's black and white. Brian Talbot has done a lot of work for 2000 AD. He did Nemesis for a bit. He's done ABC Warriors. He's done Judge Dredd. He's done loads. But then he moved to DC and he's done Sandman, Shade, The Changing Man. I think he's done Hellblazer. He's done a lot of Vertigo kind of titles, and he's just a master of his craft. He's not just, and he's also done a lot of other creator-owned stuff, but for himself, like Granville, which is like an anthropomorphic, I can never say that, series about a detective in like a Victoriana kind of flavour to it. And One Bad Rat, which had loads of awards years ago, set in the Lake District, but very hard hitting about child abuse. So if you get triggered by stuff like that, do be one. But it's well worth reading. It's powerful book. But yeah, so I recommend that. And one from the 2000 AD stable is a gorgeous. Oh my god, this book is so nice. And it's the second volume of Thistlebone, and this is book 2 called Poisoned Roots by T.C. Eglinton and Simon Davis. Very nice European style hardback. Oop. Just trying to. I don't want to show too much because you need to buy this. You can buy it from 2000ad.com if you're in the States. It's available on Amazon. In the UK, you can get it in most comic shops. But if you like things like Midsummer, The Wicker Man, this is that level of folk horror, and quite possibly the best horror comic I've read in the past 10 years. Less is more, and they've managed to nail that on the head. The artwork is great. Things happening where you're like, it literally I turned a page and so I went, no, because you think they're not going to do that, but they do, and they're like, oh my god. This is why I love 2000 AD. They're not scared to take chances with stories. They don't play it safe, and that definitely doesn't play it safe. So great. Get both volumes. And I had to mention this one because this is just a work of art. Again, it's my favourite team. It's Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross. Beautiful. I missed it when it first came out. I got the second print and I think it's sold out again. I was going to show the pictures to my microphone. I can't really hold it up. It's a bit heavy and cumbersome, but you owe it to yourself. If you like good art, if you like a fun retro story, get this. It's a short story, but it took me ages to read it because I was just soaking in the artwork, and there's not many artists who you can do that with, but when you study his art, you see things what you miss initially. It's great. It's the best Marvel comic. What's not produced by Marvel is done through Abrams, and I think they need to give the license out there characters to more companies because they seem to do it better than Marvel do. It's great. Finally, for book recommendations, I'm going to do my top 5 manga. So these are new manga titles that have come out this year. I mean, there's loads of ongoing manga, but I didn't want to do those. I wanted to do fresh new titles. So the first one is from Nayo. This is where I'm going to really balls it up. Nayo Matsumoto, and it's Keiju number 8. So Keiju, I'm sure most people are like giant monsters, so like Godzilla, that type. And these are monster hunters, like a police force who hunt these Keiju monsters. But the twist is, one of these hunters, he starts mutating into a Keiju, into a big monster, and he's trying to keep it secret. So it's got humour, it's got action, it's just fun. I can't really show the artwork because a lot of Japanese manga companies are very pissy about rights and what you can show. and I don't want to get cancelled, so there we go. And then this one, I mentioned this series earlier on in the week, and that's Atom. So look at my other video for that, and it's a great fun read, great modern / retro kind of artwork. Really enjoying it. Highly recommended. Not bad price as well. And another book which is so much fun is Sakamoto Days. This is a retired hitman who now works in a grocery store, and he basically has to come out of retirement. It's just perfect. It's a good. When manga gets humour right, they get it right. They get it better than a lot of American and UK humour comics. And a one and done is Death Note short stories. Death Note's one of my favourite mangas of all time. Not read this yet, but I can't wait to dive in. Just short stories featuring all your favourite characters from Death Note, so that'll be a joy to read. And I love the TV series, possibly my second favourite TV series of this year, and that's Alice in Borderland. And this is the manga that the TV series is based on, and the manga is just as good. It just gives you more depth as well. So yeah, if you like dystopian, weird sci-fi, this is one to get at the moment. There's 3 volumes of it. So that's it nearly. So just 2 things to mention now. First one is who I think is the best publisher of this year, and that's AWA or AWA Upshot. What I like about them, they just do miniseries, and if a comic is popular, they'll do another miniseries of the same characters. So it's very easy to budget. They don't do huge variants. They normally just do one standard cover and then one variant. So again, you're saving money. I know you're thinking, what's that got to do with buying comics? But it can make or break a comic if you're going to buy a comic. And for me, it gives me the same buzz what I got from Vertigo years ago, where it's not. They rarely do superheroes, but when they do, it's got a good, like a sci-fi slant on it. But they encompass crime, science fiction, horror, thriller, war stories, you name it. And the comics normally run between 4 to 6 issues, and they're never more than $3.99. They always have good art, great writers. They've got like the cream of the crop of the writers. And what I like about them as well is that a few months after they've released the series, then they'll release the collection of it. And the collections are never, apart from the Garth Ennis one, because that had a lot of issues, that was about 8-issue comic. Apart from that one, the graphic novels are just $9.99. So you can't get that anywhere, apart from Image when they did the first series, but the rest after that are like full price. But yeah, they're always $9.99, so it's a steal. And they have people like, recently had Mark Russell did the one which had all the buzz about the robots, and then Crimson Cage, like I mentioned before, the wrestling one. There's so many like award worthy stories. So yeah, AWA Upshot gets my Publisher of the Year award. I'm sure they'll be thrilled about that. And finally, just want to do some in living memory. So this year has really hit the comics industry hard. A lot of giants of these big serious giants of the comic industry have passed away. So these are just ones that impacted me because I adore what they do. First one, this is a childhood hero who I've followed all the way through to adulthood, and that's Alan Grant. I followed his work in 2000 AD, and then when he moved, did work for Lobo, Batman for DC. Sadly, he passed away earlier on in the year. And then there's Kevin O'Neill, who is one of my all-time favourite artists. Nobody draws like him. He's a master craftsman. He's got perfect balance of pen, ink and colour. And then, like I said, Carlos Pacheco, who was only 60 when he died. And again, huge talent. Tim Sale, possibly one of the ultimate Batman artists. Sadly, again, passed away too soon. Neil Adams, what more can you say? Was a living legend. And another giant of comics, on par, I'd say, with Neil Adams, George Perez, who, for me, was higher in my estimation because he did Wonder Woman and he did You Teen Titans. When he died, I was devastated. You don't think you'd get upset by people that you don't know, but you do know them through the work, and so we need to remember them and just be thankful for the legacy that they've left. Don't treat it lightly. Um, this is why I really enjoyed the 2000D issue for Christmas, because they did some really beautiful strips and eulogies for Alan Grant and Kevin O'Neill. They were family, and sadly, I don't think America does it the same way. It'd be nice. It'd be nice if they did. The only time I've seen it done to that level was the John Paul Leon Batman Catwoman tribute book, which I thought was beautiful. I thought that's how you do it. It's not just the one page. Come on, they gave so much, but they need to be remembered more than just a passing footnote. So on that note, quite a somber note to finish on, but do have a lovely Christmas and New Year. I'll do some content hopefully very soon. Like I said, next one will be the Judge Dredd magazine when that comes, hopefully next week. And then I'll be doing a review of Button Man, and then after that I'll see. Put suggestions what you'd like me to do as well. But yeah, have a Merry Christmas and a really Happy New Year. Love the ones who you're with. It can be a sad time. My dad passed away. My dad passed away from COVID 2 years ago, around about Christmas time, so it hits hard. But I surround myself with people I love, and if you're in a similar situation, do the same. If you're feeling low, I'm here on YouTube, I'm here on Twitter. Happy to shoot the breeze through messaging or whatever. But if you are alone, don't be alone. There are people out there. In the UK, there's the Samaritans. I'm sure there's similar organisations in the USA. But yeah, do not be alone. Do not suffer in silence. People will help. You just need to reach out. But again, that's took a very strange turn, but I felt I had to say it. I don't think it gets said enough. We can just focus too much on material things and not on people, which is what Christmas surely is about. But anyway, look at me, being all adult. But yeah, have a great festive time, and I shall see you soon. Bye.